Welcome to the show with no name for March 11th, 2014. If I didn't have Gavin, I'd never know what time it was.
No matter what day it was.
No matter what day it is. It is the 11th of March, and it's 11 o'clock. I think.
You are correct, sir.
Well, I know. First we changed the time of the show a few weeks ago, and now we changed the time of the time over the weekend. And, I'm confused. I don't know about you, but I'm perpetually confused at this point.
So you've been late or you've been early this week?
I've been sleeping a lot. Our theme song by Ennio Morricone. He wrote some great music. Now they had a night dedicated to him on TCM last week, and among other things, they showed a couple of spaghetti westerns, including For a Few Dollars More with Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, which was the movie they made just before The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And that's got that haunting flute, melody. It's wonderful. But they were explaining, Robert Osborne was explaining afterwards, that one of the reasons it came out the way it did was because this movie was done so on the cheap that they only let him have like 5 pieces in his orchestra. So that's why you've got this flute theme hanging out there all by itself. By the time they did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I think
They were on a big budget.
They were on a much bigger budget. I thought our show Friday, the podcast, was pretty terrific.
That was one of our better ones, absolutely.
Yes, you can catch it on the Show with No Name on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and type in the Show with No Name, and you should get it. Although somebody told me they were typing in the Show with No Name and getting something else, but look for the one that looks like us.
Somebody was infringing upon our looks?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it was done. I haven't tried it myself.
A lot of makeup probably then.
The ones with our pictures on it, that should be the one. Actually, it's not our. Well, you're in it. I think. You're in the picture. I think you're in the picture.
Barely.
Mike Scherer is in the picture. Jim is in the picture.
Yeah.
Dave Godden is in the picture. I'm not in the picture for some reason.
You were behind the camera videotape.
No, Jerry Scrocky took that picture.
Is that the one he did?
Yeah, that's one of the ones he did, yeah. Oh, well. What's new in the... Oh, I don't know. I don't know where to start. Basically, I am of the feeling that government shouldn't be doing anything that could be done by somebody else. Because, first of all, they're going to screw it up, and it's going to cost a lot more.
Two big features of it.
Yeah.
Screw up and cost us more.
Right. Now, 2 things popped up recently. Over the weekend, the state released its, I think it's the Department of Transportation, it's 5 alternatives or something for high-speed rail across the state of New York. And this is so, I guess they put these plans to these alternatives together so that they can then apply for federal funding, and then it goes through the federal government and they decide what they're going to do with it, whether they're going to pick this out or the other thing. And of course, meanwhile, consultants are getting paid a fortune for this nonsense.
So what do the consultants do? Take a slow train ride and see what's there?
Yeah, I think so.
Or do they walk the track and see how safe they are?
I think they walk the track and charge by the minute.
Okay.
It's an incredible thing. I mean, well, first of all, let's start with this. Is there a demand for high-speed rail such that would justify the billions they're talking about spending on it?
Will there be somebody living in Utica working in New York City on a daily basis to take the train?
Right. And if you were going to do that, well, why wouldn't you just live in Hudson? If you're going to go that fast, right?
Yeah. Well, you could be the only guy on the train, though.
All right. Now, what will this do for Amsterdam? First of all, the high-speed rail won't stop here.
It'll make us a blur.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
One of the alternatives is to actually build a whole new track on a more southerly route, so it would go on top of the hills instead of down in the valley. You know, it would go through the town of Charleston, and yeah.
That sounds like a good idea, Bob.
It actually, if you were to start over, that would make more sense than giving up all the good riverfront. But yeah, can you imagine? We're going to build a brand new high-speed rail where nothing currently exists and that will connect with nothing, I guess, or connect Buffalo with New York City, and who's going to go?
Well, that's a good batting average, 2 for 2.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, that is a good batting average.
Yeah.
Saw my first spring training game yesterday. Have you seen that JetBlue Stadium the Red Sox are playing in?
Yeah, it looks just like.
It looks. The dimensions are exactly the same as Fenway Park. They have the green monster in left field. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense that if you're going to be practicing, why not practice to hit the ball over the fence where you actually play?
Because they do that in football, you know. They practice on the same size field that they actually play on.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Usually.
Mm-hmm. And Misha happened to catch that game, and he said, "Look at they're playing in Boston."
Yeah.
No, Misha, they're not. Yeah, they are. Look at it. No, Misha, they're not. It's a replica field in Florida because there still is snow in Boston, and there shall be more snow in Boston coming up as well. So, it's Florida.
The only thing different was Glenn Drinkwater wasn't sitting behind the plate, and you didn't have the guy with the headphones. Headphones guy, I forget what his name is. Last time I was in the ballpark, I got all excited because I watched the two of them, and they in between innings they got up and talked to each other. You know.
You took the headphones off to talk?
No,
He left them on.
left them on. I don't get it. I don't know what he's listening to. Presumably the ball game, but you know those seats have televisions in the seats behind home plate because Louisa had one of them last year. Yeah, so people are like watching the hockey game while they're watching the ball game. I'm serious.
I believe you. That's the funny part.
Yeah. Could be watching the show with no name, of course, if they pick up YouTube on it.
Oh, there you go. Probably could.
Wow. Anyway, so this whole rail thing, and of course, naturally, one of the proposals includes the brand new Amsterdam train station with the bridge to connect the train station with Main Street. In other words, after we're spending, did you know that our bridge project is $2 million over budget at this point?
It's pretty good since they've done nothing.
Yeah. Yes. It's $16.5 million. That wasn't enough. Now they're estimating it's $2 million over budget, so they're trying to figure out where they can cut costs or come up with another $2 million.
They could probably save about.
They could make $18.5 million, and it still won't connect to Main Street.
So from the new train station, you'd walk this bridge from there down to downtown?
Theoretically, I don't think they figured out how it's actually going to happen because you've got arterials to reroute and things like that, and it's still got to, It's got to get over the train tracks and over the arterial to connect with Main Street. Maybe they're just talking about
West Main Street.
Maybe they're not even talking about Main Street. Maybe they're just talking about having the railroad on the north side of the tracks, a railroad station on the north side of the tracks, and then they would just connect the bridge with the new pedestrian bridge. In which case, you still don't get to Main Street.
Well, since there's no exit off of Main Street, wouldn't they have to run a new pedestrian bridge over to the other side and down to connect?
Well, you know what? Oh, of course, you could just use the existing bridge, which already has a pedestrian connection to Main Street. But don't you like Babe's idea the best?
Very clever individual.
Yes, Babe Pallotta said, why don't
I voted for Babe, you know.
I did vote for Babe myself, and so did everybody else who ever works on this program, or they won't work it. His idea was to connect the pedestrian bridge to the fourth floor of the bank building and then take the elevator down. And you know, it's no more preposterous than anything that they've suggested.
So far.
And it's all going to revitalize downtown Amsterdam, just like the mall did,
Or as will the casino.
as well as the casino.
But the casino could revitalize the area, so I don't want to be too flippant about that.
Well, I'm just, wondering, what is so sacred about what they're calling downtown, which isn't. All it is an old neighborhood, really, at this point. It's what used to be.
A neighborhood.
Visions of it used to be.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
And of course, the other thing is I'm still flabbergasted by the mayor's proposal to tear down the clubhouse at the golf course and build
Tear down that clubhouse.
and substitute a 300 to 400 capacity banquet hall. Yeah, that'd be nice. Is there a need for that? Show me all the studies that she's done that show the need for a 300 to 400 seat banquet hall that's not being filled. True, we don't have one in this.
We did have one.
We had a good size one and one broke. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was private.
Yeah, right. But it's easier if you just use the taxpayer dollars. And how many of those you're going to book in the course of a year? Fact of the matter is, the demand ain't there. Yeah, I had to go out of town for my daughter's wedding. That's true, and I'm sure a lot of people out there did. Would the taxpayers spending $4 million to tear down the old one and build a new one? Would that pay for itself, do you think?
Not in my lifetime.
No. I mean, how much is a restaurant they built down on the Riverlink Park? Is that paying for itself? Not in our lifetime. Right?
Yeah.
Not in our children's lifetimes. But it'd be so nice to have a banquet. Yes, it would be nice to have a banquet hall with a nice view. Yeah, that's true. They used to have the Antlers Clubhouse.
Yes, they did.
The old Antlers Clubhouse had a good-sized restaurant. The current one, what's it called? Rolling Hills.
Right. And
has got a good-sized.
we've been there for several banquets.
Yeah.
It's nice up there.
Yeah. You could build double the size of that place and have a nice banquet hall overlooking the river valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you suppose that hasn't happened?
We don't have a demand for it.
That could be.
Or people would rather go someplace else if we do have it.
Yeah. Yep. So all this stuff, get the government out of this business stuff.
Because that puts you in direct competition with private industry.
It does, and of course, perfect example. We've talked about this before. Everybody's thrilled that the owners of the Holiday, what we used to be the Holiday Inn, are getting $80,000 in tax dollars free to rehab their place or whatever it is. Meanwhile, the guy who bought the Super 8 motel had his assessment raised when he moved in.
Okay.
So tell me why you're subsidizing one hotel and penalizing the other one, getting the other guy to pay for because it fits more with your vision thing to have it downtown, wherever downtown is.
Because if we did that, there'd be less need for government. Government would be smaller, and that, in their eyes, definitely would not be a good thing. Bigger is better.
A couple of different people have discussed putting a hotel up on the Perth Road where all the traffic is, right? And yet that hasn't happened either, right?
No,
As a matter of fact, we've got less, since the Windsor Motel was torn down for, got to put a plug in for my cousins. That was torn down to make way for Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, where's the demand? Where's the demand? I know when I was doing the Red Cross stuff, and we had to put people up overnight. Never had trouble
Finding rooms?
finding rooms. Never had trouble. Including one night I had to put up 58 people, and no trouble finding rooms whatsoever. 843-2500 is the number. Really enjoying Philip Tambasco's Facebook page. You know, you're from Amsterdam. He's got good questions, and of course, since I gave him the book, he's
getting even more.
He got even more. Now, we got into this sideline the other day about where the trolleys used to run in town, and then Bob Pertell, who's been a guest on our program, says, where are there still abutments from the old? He knew he could think of 4 places where there's still bridge abutments from the trolley system. It's still in existence, floating around. And I got all but one of them. Plus, I got one that he didn't get.
So it's 5 then.
Well, there may be 6 or 7, but he knew of 4. And he wasn't counting, which I think the obvious one, which is the bridge from Pioneer Street into Shuttleworth Park, because that was the trolley bridge. So there's no, I mean, the abutments are there, but it's still being used as a car bridge rather than a trolley bridge. It was built as a trolley bridge. That must have been so cool. You know? You go to the Rockton Y and take the trolley up to Hageman alongside Harrower Pond, and then there was an old hotel at the north end of the pond. This building is still there. You can back streets of Hageman, you go to it. And I think there used to be a footbridge connecting the hotel with the trolley station, and it's so cool.
So things we had back then were actually functional, useful, and were used.
And were used. Well, that's the point. And there was a need for them. After a while, there wasn't a need.
And that's why they're not there.
That's why they're not there. But it was so cool. Now, the Hageman run, the Hageman trolley, right? Car number 25, I think. 24 or 25, I forget. Rockton was one, and the Hageman line was the other. A few years ago, there was somebody was tearing down a camp in the lower Adirondacks, and said, hey, you know, half this camp is the old trolley car. And so now it's sitting in an undisclosed location. And
wasn't that one of Jerry Snyder's finds?
Yeah, Jerry was involved in that, yeah. And Jerry, I think, used, quadruple zero steel wool, taking off the paint one layer at a time, and we finally came up with the number. And sure enough, and at the museum we've got pictures of that trolley going around Harrower Pond. It's so neat to know that same car is still in existence, and not in as bad shape as you might think. I mean, it obviously would need a lot of work, but there's no question that you're dealing with a trolley car, as opposed to a diner that got converted into somebody's living room. Neat. It's really neat. I haven't seen it up close, but I've seen the before and after pictures of it, so, in its current state. But I'd like to see it at the Walter Ellett Museum when we get one of those trains too, because we got that alcove exhibit there. Anyway,
got a lot of room up there too.
Speaking of things that used to be, I have this wonderful poem my sister sent me. She didn't write it herself, my sister the poet. And the author, if you don't know the answer to this, the author will surprise you. It surprised me. Anyway, it's about a guy who's been away from his childhood home for about 20 years, and he comes back to the place where he grew up, and I think this is a feeling a lot of people get when they come back here to Amsterdam, because frankly an awful lot of the people we knew moved away and they come back. And I get these feelings too when I spent 6 years of my life in Westmere, growing up outside of Albany. My first few years of school, my first 4 years of school, really, counting kindergarten. And so every once in a while I drive back to the old neighborhood, and you can't go home again. Let alone, absolutely, there's like 2 people that we knew then that are still, only one that's in the same house.
Now, have we gotten any closer to the solution to that riddle that he posed?
No.
No. Okay.
Everybody gave up on that. Anyway, This is called My Childhood Home I See Again. I think it's only called that because that's the first line. My childhood home. This is Kaiser's Korner, by the way, in case Mr. Kaiser's listening. My childhood home I see again and sadden with the view. And still, as memory crowds my brain, there's pleasure in it too. Oh, memory, thou midway world twixt earth and paradise, where things decayed and loved ones lost in dreamy shadows rise, and freed from all that's earthly vile, seemed hallowed, pure and bright, like scenes in some enchanted isle, all bathed in liquid light. As dusky mountains please the eye when twilight chases day, as bugle notes that passing by in distance die away. As leaving some grand waterfall, we, lingering, list its roar. So memory will hallow all we've known, but know no more. Near 20 years have passed away since here I bid farewell to woods and fields and scenes of play and playmates loved so well, where many were but few remain of old familiar things, but seeing them to mind again the lost and absent brings. The friends I left that parting day, how changed as time has sped. Young childhood grown, strong manhood gray, and half of all are dead. I hear the loved survivors tell how naught from death could save, till every sound appears a knell, and every spot a grave. I range the fields with pensive tread, and pace the hollow rooms, and feel, companion of the dead, I'm living in the tombs. Now, I will say the author of this, I is someone you will know, but I'm also aware that he was a great fan of Thomas Gray's Elegy in a Country Churchyard, to which this bears some resemblance, and I suspect it was written after he had, you're familiar with Gray's, where he goes to the cemetery and starts contemplating everybody, and the punchline is the paths of glory lead but to the grave, which Paths of Glory was the title of a Kirk Douglas movie. But anyway, there's this melancholy with it, and you can tell from some of the words that are used who wrote it, I think.
Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer. It could have been Val Kilmer, could have been Vin Diesel.
How about Joyce Kilmer?
And not Joyce Kilmer either. 19th century. Haven't got it.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Abraham Lincoln.
Now, is he related to the one that used to be president?
He's one and the same.
One and the same. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't. He was a poet, and I didn't know it.
I did not know that at all until my sister pointed out to me. There's actually a volume of Lincoln's poems available. I've never heard of this until a week ago.
Thank you, sister.
I thank my sister. I always thank my sister.
Wow.
Yep. And I think it's quite good. And I think she does too, even though it rhymes. Dear. My sister is so smart that she writes these poems that make perfect sense to her, and you really have to...
To stretch?
You really have to say,
Does she live in Colorado?
no, she's... that's a good one. No, as a matter of fact, she lives in Gloucester.
Well, I bet you there's a whole lot of difference.
Well, perhaps not. Perhaps not.
I think somebody from Gloucester just called us.
This is WCSS, you're on the air.
I'm sorry, I had the wrong number.
Okay. No forward. Well. I wonder who they were trying to call. So what else is going on here? I'm, you know, these other things, I'm just in shock when I hear this stuff. Can't go on, can't go on. I see the atheists have sued
Oh, to get the cross.
the cross taken down from ground zero. This is a special point for me. As I saw it when it was still kind of fresh and new, when I was working for the Red Cross at Ground Zero a couple of months after September 11th.
Yeah.
The story, I met the guy who found what's come to be known as the cross at Ground Zero, cross at Ground Zero. His name was Frankie Salicia. He was, I don't know whether he was an iron worker or just a laborer, hired in the really day one. He was part of the rescue and recovery team. And he was assigned a kind of a gruesome job. He was assigned to one of the buildings that was largely destroyed but still intact. In other words, it didn't collapse all the way. And his job was to go through the building and through the basement with a can of orange spray paint. And they had some kind of code they used, but the idea was you go room to room, you search the rooms. If there are any bodies, you note them, and if the room is clear, I think they put an X in orange paint, so the next guy coming through knows this room has been searched. And you can only imagine what this must be like emotionally. And he was by himself. And let's see, was that a Monday or Tuesday? Whatever it was. It's yeah, sure, now they got a call. Well, we'll take the call and I'll get back to Frankie. This is WCSS, you're on the air.
Pardon?
And this is WCSS, you're on the air.
Yes, is this Bob
It is.
going?
Yes, it is, yes.
Oh, I want to tell you that I enjoyed that poem so much that you just spoke.
Thank you. Abraham Lincoln wrote that. You can.
I know, I didn't know he was a poet.
I didn't either, but it shouldn't be a surprise because his prose reads like poetry, so it shouldn't be a surprise.
Oh, it was lovely. And say hello to Mary.
I will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I enjoy your program.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good. Anyway, he finally reaches, Frankie Salicia finally reaches the atrium of this building. And the atrium, I think it went straight up to the roof of the building. This is one of the lower buildings, but it still went up like 8 or 10 floors, something like that. And had a skylight. And when the North Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed, pieces went flying in every direction. So he enters this atrium and there's all this chaos, broken everything. And standing in the middle of it, erect, is this iron cross. With it came down a piece of insulation or something, part of the building, that looped around the cross, just as you see the burial cloths of Jesus represented on Easter Sunday as, the empty burial cloth and the cross. And he was going through this in his, why did you allow this, God? He's a religious man. But he's arguing with God about this. And then he sees the cross, and he just falls to his knees and weeps, and stayed there for 20 minutes, and got up and took out a spray can and wrote God's house. And from that point on, he would take the other workers in there, and then the visitors, and I think the prime ministers and everything else would come in there. Finally, they deemed the building unsafe, and they took the cross out and they raised it over the site, which is where I found it So it was within the first 2 months that they parked it erect in a spot I think that used to be the walkway between the hotel on West Street, going over West Street to the World Trade Center. And so it hovered over the pit that they were digging where the World Trade Center used to be. And the fires were still going at that point. And on Sunday mornings, they would hold Mass there. And Father Brian Jordan, who was the unofficial chaplain of Ground Zero, was a chaplain for the fire department, Franciscan, would say Mass right in the shadow of this cross, and Frankie Salicia was always there. And when it came time for Mass, they had like one of these work trailers, and they would pull this makeshift altar out of it. And they would throw plywood down because it was all mud, it was all this white powder mud left over from the collapse. And we would stand around on the plywood, and he would say Mass, and they would all take communion together, and when it came to time for the consecration, all the heavy equipment stopped. I mean, there was no rules, no nothing. It's just everyone was showing respect for the Mass going on. And then sing God Bless America or something at the end. And it was a symbol that gave hope to the people who were there working, and it was a horrible job. They made a lot of money. They were working 24 hours a day, the 12-hour shifts for months on end. But every once in a while they'd have to stop because they'd find 12 more bodies. And just horrible. But the survivors' families had been brought in to see the cross, and nobody complained. When they went to erect it, Frankie organized all this. By the way, he had a Jewish mother and a Italian father. Grew up in Brooklyn, and I think he was an evangelical Protestant when I met him. I'm not sure, but he went to Mass every Sunday, I'll tell you that. Where was I going with this? So when they went to erect the cross, he had all the workers on the site sign their names on the cross with a nail or something. They scratched it into the rusty iron. And this one guy hesitated. Frankie says, "What's the matter?" He says, "I don't know if I should do this." He says, "I'm Jewish." And Frankie says, "This is for everybody." And that's how a Star of David ended up being scratched into the cross at Ground Zero. And I predicted back then, because I wrote about it back then, I predicted that at some point some atheist was going to come screaming that we should not allow a religious symbol at this public place, and what a horrible thing it is.
Yeah. But simply being an atheist does not mean that shouldn't be there. You have the right wing of the atheists who believe that anything religious should not be seen anywhere, anytime, or for any reason.
Right.
At some point there's going to come that this group will protest the cross on top of a Catholic church because it can be seen by the public,
right.
And therefore it should not be there, it should not exist.
Yeah.
As opposed to recognizing this cross at Ground Zero is simply there as a reminder of what took place there.
And you know what? And of course, that's the answer. I mean, they really have no argument at all because it is historically significant, if nothing else. But it's also a symbol, and symbols are powerful.
Yes, they are.
you know, what is the Statue of Liberty? It's a bunch of copper plates hammered together, right? What is the Fort McHenry flag?
What does Liberty hold in her left hand?
The left hand is a tablet that says July 4, 1776.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a trick question?
It was. It was.
And a right-handed torch.
That's right.
The chained lightning keeps story.
But do you think they're going to actually win this case?
No, I don't. And the point I made at the time, and I make again, is our first and foremost concern really should be for the families that lost loved ones on September 11th, because this is, you know, for them, sacred ground any way you look at it.
Hallowed ground.
Hallowed ground, as Abraham Lincoln would say. And frankly, we have no right to deny them that symbol.
And you see, that's the very reason they should win, because they are the most minority group we have, and the rights of the minority have to be respected by the majority, and since there are more atheists than there are families who lost members at ground zero, the families should win.
Ah, I see. There's a good argument. Anyway, the way I wrote it at the time, I think I can quote this fairly directly. There will people who will protest having such a symbol there. But if on a crisp autumn day, when the pipes play Amazing Grace and the drums sound the Dead March, some widow or orphan or mom or dad looks up at that cross and thinks for but a moment, I am the resurrection and the life. Who among us should say them nay?
Very good.
But they will.
There are people like that
There
out
are
there.
people like that, and I think they're just hateful. I mean, I don't understand that kind of hate. I don't. I don't understand it. It's demonic, if there was such a thing. Well, let's see. All my kids are on American soil.
That's good.
How about your kids? Are they all on American soil?
They're in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's, it's
All right.
Daniel
Yeah.
Boone.
That's right. Yeah, they're.
We got
My grandchildren are in Kentucky. We're going down in April to see them.
Misha's performing.
This Friday evening at St. Peter and Paul's, former church in Canjahary. There's an Irish recital taking place. They've got singers and musicians up there. They'll be singing traditional, non-religious Irish tunes up there, though there may be some that you could find that may have some religious overtone to them.
All right, let's
Or
protest.
undertone. And of course, Saturday is the large St. Patrick's Day parade down in Albany.
Weather permitting.
No. Regardless, they will be out
Yeah,
there.
they've been in some pretty severe weather in the past.
Yeah, and then Monday, of course, he's playing down at O'Toole's, the Irish pub down in Albany, as well. I hear that the Amsterdam Hibernians are going to be having their Irish American Club will be having their corned beef and cabbage.
That's true.
This weekend. Even though you're supposed to abstain from meat during Lent, you get a dispensation for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, but for this year, St. Patrick's Day doesn't fall on a Friday, so it's not a problem. In the past, Monsignor Glavin, bless his heart, used to bless the corned beef and
Turn it into bread and wine.
we'll call it something else. I love that. I think it was as far back as the 17th century, where the Pope was asked to declare that a certain rodent in South America was actually a fish for the purpose, because they didn't want
Canberra.
The natives were very pious, and they did not want them, you know, to lose a staple of their diet. And it was nothing you or I would care to eat, but apparently it was their staple, so the Pope ruled that it was in fact a fish, so they could eat it. And it remains so to this day.
Really?
Yes. Okay, so Irish American Club, open house March 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And on each and every occasion, they will be serving corned beef sandwiches. It's also ham or turkey, if you like, on white or rye bread, mostly rye.
Because of your sense of humor?
Yes. Served with horseradish, pickled chips, cookie, and condiments. Eat in or take out, $8. And then Monday they'll be delivering the traditional, everybody's office gets 10,000 corned beef sandwiches. It'll be Monday, March 17th. And call for delivery March 14th, 15th, or 16th to the club. Oh, and then they're what is this? Saturday, March 15th at 4 o'clock, they're having an all-female Irish group, I don't have my glasses on, Triscaeli. $5 cover charge for that.
Are they dancing or singing?
Singing, I believe. Well, I don't know. It says all-female Irish group. I assume they're singing.
Or they could just be there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Inman Center is also serving corned beef sandwiches on Monday. Eat in or take out. Theirs are only $7.50. Soup available at additional cost while supplies last. Sorry, no delivery on soup.
It's a great weekend, though, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh boy, everybody wants to be Irish, I'll tell you. On St. Patrick's Day. Many a wild time I've
You've had down there at the Irish American Club?
oh my gosh. Stuff I still can't talk about.
Then you shouldn't bring it up.
Well, it's just, you know. That was like, you know, I'm a member. I enjoy being a member. I don't go there very often.
They enjoy having you a member because
But
of
I'm
that.
happy to be a member. Happy to be a member. Matter of fact, I probably haven't paid I usually pay my dues on St. Patrick's Day when I show up. I think they're due the previous September. And eventually I catch up.
On your corned beef?
The corned beef is superb. Now that I'm gluten-free, however, you know, first of all, I never ate the rye bread because I can't eat rye. Never could eat rye. So I would usually have it on Italian or something like that. Fabulous corned beef sandwich. And now I can't have the bread. So now we'll buy the sandwiches and either throw it on our own bread or just carve it up on the plate. I miss my Italian bread, I'll tell you.
Now, isn't Tim Riley the biggest member of the Irish American Club?
Probably the biggest, yeah. And probably the only one holding the Screen Actors Guild card.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hulk.
That's right. It's a great part. Hugh Farley has a SAG card.
He does. What was he in?
It was in that movie last year, The Place Beyond the Pines.
That's been on HBO this month.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's not bad. And for local people watching it, because everything about it is, when they say something takes place on Washout Road, it takes place on
Yes,
Washout
it does.
Road. When they say it takes place at the bank at such and such a corner, that's the bank, you know.
We were down in Schenectady with one of the gentlemen I work with, and we're coming back, and we're coming up Route 5, and Liberty has a policy that when transporting consumers, you need to drive 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. So there's no issues about speeding because you do a lot of transportation. So we're coming back and we're doing our 50 miles an hour in a 55 zone, and I see all these cop cars and thinking, I have to make sure I really watch it, and between the Dunkin' Donuts
and the 9 Mile Bridge.
and the 9 Mile Bridge, there were, 11 or 12 cop cars. And then we get home, we see the news, and they were closing down that section of Route 5 for the chases,
Right.
and that's why they were all there.
And it's the only part of the movie that was not true to life. Because in that scene, they're going in the wrong direction on Route 5.
Yes.
And you have to be a native to realize that the hill's on the wrong side and the river's on the wrong side.
That's right.
Of this
That's
picture.
right. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Stuck out like a sore thumb.
to us,
To us, yeah.
nobody else would.
Not a bad picture. It went on too long. Maybe a little bit too much plot. But the twists were almost Hitchcockian. You think you're going in one direction with a movie, and all of a sudden that movie's over and another one just started. Like kind of like Psycho. He did that in Psycho.
Yeah.
And he did that in what was the name of the movie? One of his last pictures. Family Plot, I think. You're going along in one place and a guy steps in front of the bus, and all of a sudden you're not in the bus anymore. You're following the guy you just saw on the street. So Senator Farley has what, about 30 seconds at the end of the film, and playing himself basically in a fictional situation.
What if he gets residual?
He does, I believe.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, because I was talking to Doug Grisette a couple of weeks ago. He used to be a family court judge in Schenectady. He's in the movie playing a judge. Of all things. And he said, yeah, we get residuals.
It's pretty neat. Probably not a big one, but...
Well, how big a residual can you get when you got there's 200 people in the movie and you're on for 30 seconds. And how do you plead? I could have done that part. I think he told me they were actually filming next door to his house. That scene up by the Vale Cemetery, I think, is where he lives. Yeah. So the house that the guy was hiding out in, or the girl was living in, or one of those was
up there.
Was next door to his house.
Yeah. We got to make more movies here in the valley.
Yeah. We should make a movie. We could make a movie.
Where would we find such men?
Yeah, I don't know.
Parts of it.
Yeah, I'd rather do a fiction. No one would believe the real stuff that happens here.
That's right. Facts stranger than fiction.
Do you think I should do the screenplay for Where We Find Such Men?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'll get around to it. Maybe. I do have script writing software, so I could do it.
So we'll write it out in script?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. In the same kind the monks used.
It's amazing when you see those old texts, the exactness of all that is written in them. I mean, it looks like it's been printed, really. It's been printed because every letter is perfect, and the next letter is perfect in there. And these guys were doing it by, daylight in a dark room, and a dark room with candlelight on,
And copying something else and hoping you get it right, because if you get it wrong, then you have to start all over again.
You can't erase. Can't erase vellum.
Actually, you can.
Can you?
Sure.
No.
Yes.
You can erase ink off of vellum?
Yes, that's what they did. They reused that's why a lot of our history is lost, because they said, well,
reused?
Nobody's reading this scroll anymore. Let's. But they have discovered a way to using
infrared.
Using infrared on one side and ultraviolet on the other or something. They're able to actually bring up what had been lost, what had been erased. I know one of the manuscripts, they realized that somebody had discovered calculus 1,000 years before.
Well, I don't know, that doesn't add up.
Well, it shouldn't, but it approaches something. WCSS, you're on the air. Hello.
Oh, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Where are you? Oh, don't tell me.
I know. I think you can ask your friend where I am, so.
Okay.
Hey, I want to ask you, Bob, when you were corporation counsel years ago back, remember about the city buses?
Yeah?
And what happened to that deal, or I don't know about now, it's been a long time since then, and is there any money for the buses to be run like that, or people they got to pay $2 for a bus, and I think for Liberty Enterprises, never helped the city out paying the bill or not, I don't know for sure, that's all.
Well, so you want to know all about the bus system?
Yeah, I remember he was saying one time he was looking for a bus, remember he was over the county years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I think some people, I mean, it's okay for the other people for the higher rise taking bus to buy, but I think Liberty Enterprises, I know they're going to help the government. They pay their fair share, but I hope they're not taking advantage of the system, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Bob, thanks a lot.
All right. Well, I guess I'll ask our Liberty Enterprises expert. Do you have anything to do with the bus system?
No.
You have your own buses?
We have a van where we are. But the buses they have are the ones are for the homes that have wheelchairs in them.
Mm-hmm. But that are owned by Liberty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you contract with the city for
No.
for anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
I realize you're not an executive of Liberty Enterprises. I just thought you might.
I'm on a entry-level rung.
Entry level.
Direct service personnel.
Okay.
DSP.
All right. You haven't got a big hotshot job like Mickey Lacopolo just got.
No. You know, I saw Mickey yesterday, in fact, and he says he loves the show. He watched last week's show. He thought it was great. He's one of our big listeners.
Yes. Where did I guess I ran into him in church on Sunday or Saturday. Saturday. I ran into him in church. And he was, a little disappointed that we hadn't recorded the show last week, our radio show. And I said, the other one's up. He said, oh, good. He says, I went to bed about midnight. I said, one went up right after that. So,
Yeah.
that was a good show. I'm so sorry I didn't record last week's radio show because I was running a little late and didn't get around to it. And it was such a good show. And now it's lost. You have to go to Alpha Centauri in 4 years and find it.
Yeah. Which wouldn't be a bad trip.
It'd be a nice trip.
You can
travel.
You can see all that you missed.
That's right. All right. Wait.
But you have to get there awful quick.
How would we get there before the show, though?
You'd have to go twice. You have to go twice the speed to get there half as quick.
I wonder if it works that way.
We haven't got a way to do that yet.
No.
Because that was mentioned in the Cosmos the other day.
Yeah, they almost
serious.
remember last year, the year before, they almost thought it happened when they sent something, some neutrino from Switzerland to Italy, and it arrived before it left. Yeah. It turned out they're measuring equipment.
You can get there at the same time you left, but you never can get any place before you left.
Well, unless you're a fellow named Bright.
Then you'd be very.
There once.
No.
Huh? What? No, this is clean.
All right.
There once was a fellow named Bright who could travel far faster than light. He set out one day in a relative way and returned on the previous night. Those of you who have seen the old Christopher Reeve Superman movie know that was a technique he used to save Lois Lane's life at the end. Traveling faster than light to get back on the previous day. Now you'd think.
If he could do it, we'd all be able to do it.
No, you'd think that would eliminate that little trick would eliminate the plots of every Superman movie because all he has to do is go back in time and change things, right?
Now, when he flew, could he fly at different speeds?
Yes, apparently.
Because I remember watching the TV show, and he sometimes he was real quick, and sometimes it took him a lot longer to go across Metropolis.
Well, yes, I think
Depends on what time of the show, because you only got 30 minutes.
They never really explained how he gets his forward motion. I mean, it's not just a matter of leaping; he can actually fly. So how does he speed up and slow down? I don't know. I don't know. There's some things that just don't make sense. Like when Superman flinches every time somebody throws a gun at him, an empty pistol.
Yeah. He's always afraid he might throw a real one at him. But those are days of black and white TV, and
Yeah.
watched them.
They ended up in color too.
Yeah,
Last
last
season
year.
too, when his
Yeah.
hair was thinning. What did happen to him? Was he murdered or did he commit suicide? It's an open question.
Yeah.
It's an open question.
Yeah, he got hooked up to the wrong woman. When it wasn't Lois, and
It wasn't Lois, it wasn't Lana Lang,
no,
it
just,
wasn't Lori Lamaris. Remember Lori Lamaris, the mermaid? She lived in the lost city of Atlantis.
now, could she survive out of water?
I don't think so. I don't know how they got together. I forget.
I always thought Aquaman was probably the least powerful of the superheroes.
Yeah,
I mean,
particularly uninteresting.
yeah, I mean, you call all the fish together. I mean, what else can you do?
Right, that's
You
it.
know?
That's it. They can't still be making those, can they?
I don't think so. That
That was the golden age of DC Comics. Those were the days. Used to scramble for every run up to Sammy's and read the next Batman issue, put it back in the rack.
well, increased our speed, our reading
And
speed.
if worst came to worst, I would go over to Kevin McKern's house and read his. He had all the comics. He had Marvels when they were brand new, you know.
Yeah.
He had original Spider-Man, original Fantastic Four, all that. You know, they threw.
You know, I was never a big science fiction fan. I liked the Classics Illustrated.
Yeah, but you're more of a classics kind of guy.
In fact, I still have some of my Classics Illustrated.
They were good.
Yeah, you know, it saved
And
me
they
a lot
never went out of style either.
No, as long as we were reading that stuff in high school, I always had a ready source for it.
That's right.
You know, saved me a lot of time. I don't know how many times I did a book report on the last of the Mohicans.
I was going to say that was a very popular. Yeah.
You know, and if you read, and I never read the original until I was in Ukraine that year.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to it than what.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, so that is probably a lot more adventures in there than what is in there, or even what is in the movie.
Yeah.
With Daniel Day-Lewis and West.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
That was very good.
They filmed it in North Carolina, where the mountains were a lot higher than they are when he was like running from Lake George to Fort Edward, you know, which is pretty flat run in real life. He's going up over mountains.
But the reason they filmed it there was because it had old stands of trees, and we don't have any old stands up
there. Yeah, we
there.
do. They just didn't know where to look. Yes, up in Wells, Pine Orchard.
Small area.
How they just film it from different angles, or running through the trail this way, running through it that way. That's all.
Just like Beyond the Pines.
Just beyond the
nobody
pines.
else knows.
Yes, we know, but
But he's I think he's an excellent actor, because he prior to taking on a role, he lives the role. Before he took on Lincoln's part, he spent a year living as Lincoln would have.
yeah.
And before he did Hawkeye, he spent time in Alabama and the Carolinas working with a gentleman, taught him how to muzzle load on the run and to shoot deer and elk quickly. And I think that's the end of the show. How about?
It is. We're not going to do a podcast this Friday because you're busy, I'm busy, and I don't know if Jim's busy, but he can do the show by himself if he wants.
I'll be here next Tuesday.
And so we'll be back here next Tuesday, and the podcast of this show will be up tonight, probably, sometime, or early tomorrow. And I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch. You're listening to WCSS 1490 in Amsterdam, New York, and this has been The Show with No Name.